welcome to a spoiler video, and I'm going to turn off the glare. Yeah, so right off the bat, if the title, the thumbnail didn't give you the hint, spoilers ahead for Avengers Age of Ultron. I've already done a non-spoiler review, basically very short, very brief, no more than 5 minutes I think if memory serves me, and completely spoiler free. I don't spoil anything, but in this video, I'm talking spoilers. So yeah, just a little heads up. So spoilers. As long as I'm on this, we got spoilers. But the hammer's in view. We got spoilers, people. So just a heads up. So if you didn't watch the review, or I'm assuming that if you've already if you're watching this video, you have already seen the Avengers Age of Ultron, or you have no problem with spoilers, but I absolutely love this film. I really, really loved it. I don't think it's as good as Avengers, like the first one, but that's mostly due to the villain. Ultron, overall, I just didn't feel was as charismatic as Loki, and I think it's just mostly due to the part that Loki had more of a build-up than Ultron. Ultron was just like kind of hinted at vaguely. He's only really introduced properly in this movie, which is not a problem. Jason Spader, I can never remember. It's Jay Spader, does an excellent job. He's just as charismatic as Tom Hiddleston, but I still think that Loki was a bit of a more of a interesting villain, and that's probably the thing I'd have to say. But even then, Ultron is still a freaking awesome antagonist. He's very threatening. He's definitely a little bit higher, I'd say, more threat-wise than Loki, I would definitely say. But at the same time, I still feel as though Loki was a much more entertaining villain to watch than Ultron. But at the same time, still, Ultron was fantastic. Jason Spader deserves an award for the performance he did. Full voiceover work. Major props to him. He did get that emphasis of an artificial intelligence who's trying to understand humanity and also be very comical. He gets a few good funny lines in this movie. He definitely got a good chuckle at me. Like, same with Loki. I think that's just Joss Whedon's style. Joss Whedon did an excellent job with this film as well as Avengers, the first one. He did an excellent job with Ultron, as well as the character. The writing in that, just the way he talked, the way he described things, was just phenomenal. And I got to give every credit to Jay Spader, who did an excellent job. It was very entertaining to watch him, especially his interaction with the Avengers. Oh, so much fun! Like he would crack whips with them and make jokes, and also be very cocky, which the kind of villain is. And I definitely like that about him. He was definitely entertaining to watch, and also he was very manipulative. I definitely liked that a lot. So Ultron was fantastic, and just towards the end it's just towards the end, he was really awesome. I definitely also liked how everything worked. He worked well with that. I just wanted to get Ultron out of the way because that's pretty much everything I have to say on this episode when it comes to the Vision, which I'll get to in a moment. But that was awesome. Ultron was awesome. I definitely want to say that the overall feel of the movie, with everything to take into consideration, is definitely the fact that they're leading up to something. There definitely was a bit of conflict of interest with the Avengers, especially with the fact that Tony built Ultron. Captain America especially was definitely they were definitely being very, you really think this is the right thing to do, but at the same time they still knew they had to work together to achieve a common goal. And they're still buddy-buddy by the end of the film, as it says, with Captain America opening up the Avengers Academy by the looks of it, and Tony Stark taking his own little wee way. I definitely feel that this film is also another little. I think this, for Iron Man especially, this is a bit of a character one. He goes through quite a bit of a dilemma trying to protect the world, especially with what Scarlet Witch does to him, which is early on in the film she manipulates him. She actually uses her powers, which are definitely different from what I'm about. I do not know too much about Scarlet Witch, but in this movie she can manipulate people's mind, make them see things that aren't really there, but also has the telekinetic and reality altering powers. And the actress who did it did an excellent job. She did a really good job. But her powers, she manipulates the Avengers, and especially what she does to Tony is to give him a sight of the future of where everyone's dead and he's the only one alive, and it's because he failed, which sparks him to create Ultron, who comes from Loki's scepter. Apparently there was a code or a computer in there or something, along with the Gem of Soul, or is it the Gem of Mind? I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It was one of the two. But he gets the idea after analysing seeing computer code basically to make Ultron, and you see that he was trying to do a good thing, but it just didn't turn out good. It was just completely wrong, and it just kind of made you could definitely feel that with Iron Man that this was definitely a bit more. It was definitely a bit more his film than it was the rest of the Avengers, even though all the Avengers went through in there. But I definitely liked the growth of the character of Iron Man, especially in this one. It definitely feels though that we are going to be seeing goodbye to Robert Downey Jr. fairly shortly. Definitely, Infinity Wars is definitely his last film. I wouldn't be surprised if he started to tone down the role a little bit. I don't know he's going to be in Civil War, but there is definitely seeds being planted for Civil War between Captain America and Iron Man and the trust between them. There definitely is a bit of that there, and especially with the development of it, I gotta give good props for heading towards that. Now, when it comes to the other Avengers, now I want to talk also about Hawkeye, because this film is also a little bit about him. Hawkeye actually gets quite a bit of character development in this one. He's actually the only Avenger that doesn't get his mind altered, and that's because, well, he basically he says it best. Scarlet Witch is sneaking up behind him as they're confronting Ultron when they're on a ship basically, and they're going to be getting, when Ultron's after vibranium, we get a little bit more about vibranium, which I'll get to in a moment. And she's walking up behind him to go, right, I'm going to manipulate your mind, motherfucker. And he just turns around and arrow zaps her, uses like a taser arrow on her forehead, and she just goes, and he's just like, I've had enough of mind control, bitch. Not that line, but he's like, been there, done that with the mind control, no thank you. And he's the only one that doesn't get his mind altered, which I just found quite appropriate for the character. He does not want his mind messed with again, so he knew what she could do, and he was just like, bam, right there. And I just love that kind of development was there for that. He got more development than he did in the previous Avenger film. I definitely feel he got a lot more showtime in this one with his arrows. He also was quite funny as well. He made quite a few snarky jokes at a certain point towards the end, especially when he's fighting alongside Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, which I'll get to Quicksilver momentarily. But he makes some funny quips, and we also find out that he does have a family. He has a wife, he has children, and he just wants a happy ending. Like, I definitely felt for him, and I was like, I want him to have his happy ending. I'm gonna stay this one silent, just bugging the crap out of me right now, but he definitely wanted him to have his happy ending in this story, which I definitely was very happy to see where he went with that. And it's just, I kind of felt from him, and I absolutely loved it, especially when his interaction with his wife, and also how he's described as something. His wife actually says something very important, and that is that, look at all these gods that you're among, like all these Avengers. You're just human. They need you. They need a human element, which I really like that, because it does make sense. Like, you look at this: Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow's human to an extent, but she stays she's more of a monster than a human. But all these, most of the Avengers have powers or are above human, basically, like are more in the kind of gods, as she stated. And the Avengers, and whenever you have a superhero team like that, you do have to have the human element into it. And I definitely feel as though Barton or Hawkeye is that kind of human element. It shows that you don't need superpowers to be a hero, which I kind of like that. Just the way that he was described actually made a lot of sense to me, at least. But that's just me. So I definitely like the development of Hawkeye in this one. He definitely had more development. So major props to that. Very well written. Now I guess I also have to talk about the relationship in the movie between Black Widow and Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. This was in a trailer, which I'm kind of wishing they didn't show in a trailer, because this was actually kind of sweet to watch. Basically, the way I can describe it is that it looks like the two of them have become close. Like especially Black Widow, she actually has a way to actually bring Bruce Banner back from being the Hulk. The lullaby, as they call it, which is a little hand gesture and a little peaceful thing that brings him back down. Something along the lines of like a programming, but more of an accepted programming, something that they agreed on. But it just kind of a little like little feelings going towards them, little things and all that, and you can kind of understand why they drifted towards it, especially Scarlet Witch, especially Black Widow and Natasha Romanoff. It's just Scarlett Johansson does an excellent job of this. She does flirt with them, like we know Black Widow was a flirt, but this is proper flirt. She's actually being very flirtatious, very direct with him. Even Captain America says it when they're having the party, like, I've seen her flirting up close. This is different. And then Bruce Banner goes, "What do you mean up close?" It made me chuckle. I gotta give Major props to that. But the relationship just brought together, just kind of warmed my heart a little bit. It does feel a little bit rushed, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of wish they'd hinted it towards more of it, and maybe a Hulk or an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something along those lines. It does feel a little bit rushed, but Joss Whedon does a good job to actually give you what you need to know. And I gotta give him props for that. But when they actually have a very heartfelt conversation between the two of them, where Romanoff actually does say that she considers herself more of a monster than a human. Like, Bruce Banner's talking, yeah, this could never work because I'm a monster, and she goes, well, so am I, because we find out a bit more about her past and the fact that she's actually sterile, which, if you don't know, that means that she can't Bruce Banner actually mentions, you can't have a white picket fence with me, you can't have children, and she says, well, neither can I. She cannot have children due to her the way she was trained, basically, in the Black Widow product. They made her sterile, basically, the graduation ceremony, she called it. So she can't have kids, and it kind of speaks to the fact that she's kind of like, she wants to have children. She wants to actually be a mother by the sounds of it, but she can't. And she sees herself as a monster because of that. And it just kind of brings the two characters closer together, and you're kind of rooting for them. Me personally, I was kind of rooting for them to maybe go there. But you can tell that they both care for each other. But by the end of the film, Banner actually leaves. He actually, after he kind of deals with Ultron a little bit, he actually takes a Stark stealth jet and actually disappears, and actually very heartfelt, and kind of where the final words to him between Scarlet Witch is that she wants them to come back so they could both disappear, because that's what they kind of agreed on, is that they would both disappear. But he decided against it, and the Hulk decided against it with Bruce Banner and went, which was sad. I won't lie. It was kind of like, oh, it's sad. But I definitely, the development between those two was very much, I like that. I'm kind of glad they didn't go down the Black Widow and Captain America route. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure if it's written well, it can be a great romance, but I'm kind of glad that they went a different direction with that. But that's just me. But I like that. Now, of course, I haven't talked too much about the other Avengers, of course, about Thor. Thor actually doesn't get that much development in this film. Very much in the similar line of, well, he had more development in Avengers, but this one he doesn't really have that. Thor's purpose in this one, besides being a badass, which he is to actually give a little bit more exposition towards the Infinity Gauntlet. Thor actually goes to some kind of magical water pool on Earth and actually has a vision of the Infinity Stones and what is to come, about basically the upcoming Infinity Wars. He has a bit of like a vision of it towards that, and he's kind of he's a bit of an exposition point at that point, but he's still fun, he's still entertaining. He doesn't really have much more development. He does have a little bit with the fact that his vision that the Scarlet Witch gave him was one of seeing basically everyone in Valhalla, which is the Viking place of dead, basically, and him being the cause of it, and he kind of wants to know why was he the cause of it. And he didn't have much development, but he was still pretty badass. He was still awesome to watch, and I gotta give Chris Hemsworth all the praise. He does an excellent job with that. Now, of course, I think I've missed out Captain America. Well, pretty much is the same line as Tony Stark. His development isn't that much. He definitely progresses a little further than what he originally was, but he's still Captain America. He's still Steve Rogers. He's butting heads with Iron Man with the idea of artificial intelligence and breaking the mold and all that thing. He still has funny one-liners. I gotta give him that. One of the recurring gags is, at one point at the start of the film, Tony Stark swears and says shit, and Captain America goes, "Language, Mr. Stark," or something along those lines. And the running gag is, "Oh, better watch our language now." It's really funny. I love the banter between them. But yeah, Captain America doesn't really have any much development, but he does develop a little bit more with the characters and his relationship with the other ones. Definitely towards there. We also have the other the other Avengers. By the end of this film, we have War Machine, Falcon, Vision, which I'll get to in a moment, and those four characters make an appearance. War Machine's in it more than Falcon's in it, which is a bit disappointing. I was hoping Falcon would be in it a bit more, but Vulcan does make an appearance at least twice in the film. War Machine makes three appearances. But yeah, I just love the banter. I just love the banter between all these characters. They just made me laugh so much. Just I can't praise it enough. Like, one of my favorite ones is when Captain America's talking. Can't remember what the scene exactly, but he basically says it's out of context. But he basically they're talking about like genetic manipulation with the twins, which is Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and they're talking about why would anyone manipulate his DNA, and he makes this comment. Yes, why would who would ever let a crazy German scientist mess with their genetic material? I let that joke sink in, but that made me laugh. So yeah, the banter is excellent in this one. It made me chuckle, because it's no surprise with Joss Whedon, who's well known for his banter. I've watched all of his work, and it's definitely a recurring thing. Always funny, always entertaining. Major props. This thing had me in stitches at some point. Like, the theater I was in was a ruckus with laughter whenever anyone made a quip or made a one-liner. It was hilarious, and I loved every minute of it. It just made me laugh so much. Now, I'll move on, of course, to the three characters that I haven't mentioned too much about, and that is Vision, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, basically the best way I can say this is they are interesting, but they don't get... They do develop a bit. We do get their backstory of them being basically survivors of... the country that they're in, which has been war-torn for years, and they talk about that about why they volunteered for the to have their genes manipulated, because they aren't Inhumans by the sounds of it. They got their powers through Loki's scepter and Baron von Strucker, and him manipulating their genes, and it was just fascinating to hear that. It was actually kind of interesting to hear the backstory of the fact that basically how they have incredible willpower due to the fact that they survived having a Stark missile shell basically near them. They were trapped in a building for 3 days after their parents died. Their parents died, and then they were trapped in rubble for 3 days, staring at an unexploded Stark missile or shell, basically terrified that it was going to go off and kill them. And their motivation to stop the Avengers is basically revenge against Stark. They blame Stark basically for the death of their parents, but what causes them to actually switch sides basically is Ultron. Ultron, they actually find out through Scarlet Witch reading Vision's mind as Vision is being built with vibranium, which a quick reference, of course, the vibranium they do mention Wakanda in this. It's the first, I think, proper reference to Wakanda that we've had. So definitely they're building up towards that, but we do get a little more history about that and vibranium. Not too much, but very interesting. Basically, Ultron's building the Vision for a replacement body for himself that's both human and machine, and has the one of the Infinity Gems on there. I think it's the Mind, if memory serves me, or the Soul. I can't remember what one off the top of my head is, but it's the one that's in actually Loki's scepter. Mind. It's the Mind Gem. My apologies, because it manipulates the mind. So he places the Mind Gem on the Vision, and due to the fact that the Vision is part organic, Scarlet Witch is able to read his mind, and she sees his plan to basically wipe out all of humanity. That's not what they want. They just want revenge on the Avengers, aka Stark. And they turn on him like that. They don't even hesitate for a second. They turn, they run, and they end up helping the Avengers actually capture Vision's body, basically. And the teamwork between them was actually quite... Captain America was very hesitant at the start, but he definitely accepts the fact that they're there to help now, and he instructs them, and it does. I give props to the actors. They did a good job with the performances. I just feel as though they weren't used enough, or they weren't developed enough, but I still enjoyed them. The actor Aaron Taylor or something, I think, who plays Quicksilver, you can tell he's having fun with the role. But after the performance of the Quicksilver in Days of Future Past, that was freaking phenomenal. They definitely don't. It's definitely a different Quicksilver. They actually don't refer to him as Quicksilver at all, I don't think, in this film. They may, but at one point, but maybe when I went to my bathroom break. But he's okay. He's not that. He still gets a few good lines every now and then, but he's probably the weakest of the two. I definitely feel as though the actress who plays Scarlet Witch gets a bit more development and is a bit more interesting, especially with her powers. But you can definitely tell the relationship between them as a brotherly sister relationship, twin relationship, the connection the two of them share with each other. You can definitely tell that with them. However, especially towards the end of what happens, and that is that Quicksilver actually dies in this film, saving Hawkeye. He actually dies saving him. He sacrifices himself to save Hawkeye, who's trying to save a child at the time. And you can just see the pain that happens with the Scarlet Witch. She screams out in pain, and just an explosion of energy happens around her, killing basically every robot around her. And it's just, you could definitely see the actress does a good expression, and then she's actually the one that actually delivers the final blow to Ultron, ripping out his robotic heart, or final blow. But I just feel as though they could have done a bit more development with them. I still found them interesting, but they definitely were the least interesting, if you want me to be honest. But I still enjoyed them, and the development with them was quite interesting. Now we talk about the Vision, who's actually the person who gets introduced last into the film, who's played by the same actor who voices Jarvis. And in a way, he is Jarvis. They actually transferred Jarvis's consciousness into Vision, and it's actually Thor that brings the Vision back into life, basically, with the help of the hammer. And he's the one who says, we need to trust this thing because, yeah, we do. And he explains the main Vision, and Vision just, he didn't get as much development as there. He's not Ultron, but even Ultron says you're just a disappointment, basically. But the actor who plays him does a really good job. I'm horrible with names, I do apologise, but he does an excellent job of portraying this kind of person who understands what he's going through and trying to explain it to someone why he's doing what he's doing. They definitely had to introduce him. They definitely had to do that, and he does have some good banter actually with Ultron a few times throughout the film towards the end in the final climax, and he's actually the one that kills the final Ultron robot that's trying to escape the final area. And he has a nice bit of banter with them and all that, and he does have a good wee chuckle line and all that, and I definitely found that very interesting. He explains like that humans might end up destroying them, but that's a beautiful thing sometimes, is that beauty sometimes ends up leading to its own destruction. And I definitely like that. He definitely had a couple of good lines. Not too much development, but I think they're going to save that for a later film, as it says Infinity Wars. Also, big spoiler here, he picks up Mjolnir. Like, literally speaking, like, the scene where you see everyone trying to pick up Mjolnir, and Thor's just like... Thor puts down the hammer while he talks to his friends, and then Vision, just like he's talking, explaining what they have to do, turns, picks up the hammer just as he's being created, and hands it to Thor, and everyone's just like, and literally the entire audience was just like, oh, he's worthy to wield the hammer. He picks up the hammer, hands it to Thor, and the look on Thor's face is just priceless. Chris Hemsworth, everybody, it's just like a, what the fuck? It's just like that face, and it's just hilarious. I loved it. I freaking loved it. It was so funny. Like the stuff that I also love the party scene where everyone's trying to pick up the hammer and they're just like, and then Thor's just like, please. But yeah, just that scene of seeing him pick up the hammer and hand it to Thor was brilliant. And they actually do try and write it off at the end of it when Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America are having the final like end banter. He's just like, well, he's not human, so he's a robot. He's mostly a robot. Doesn't count. And they're just like, yeah, he's worth. Thor's just like, he was worthy. He picked up the hammer just because none of you were. It's funny. I gotta give credit to that. But as I say, the three characters who had the least amount of development were definitely Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. But they were still entertaining and fun to watch. I definitely really liked it. I definitely liked the introduction of the characters, and I'm happy to see that there are going to be at least two of them will be making returns. So it was just phenomenal. It's just so many great scenes that I wish I could remember all of them. But it's just a phenomenal film, and I loved it. And of course, it ends with an Avengers Academy being opened up, basically, where Captain America is going to be training the new Avengers, basically, which is War Machine, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, who finally gets her awesome outfit. It looks brilliant. Falcon, War Machine, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. Those are the ones we see at the end. And he actually says the word Avengers, credits. Fuck you, Joss Whedon. Screw you, you. We all want to hear Captain America say Avengers, assemble. He doesn't say it in this film. He's just about to, and then it cuts to credits. I think they're saving it for the final film. I think they're actually saving the time when Captain America says Avengers assemble. Which is... I want to hear him say it so badly, but I'll accept it. Now, there is actually only a post-credit scene, which is just like after the animated scene, like, you know, the fancy one, or not just the wall of text. There is a credit scene, and it basically, spoiler alert, it's Thanos getting the Infinity Gauntlet, which means we're about to hit boom time, bitches. It's just him putting on the Infinity Gauntlet, and that's it, basically. He does say some lines that he's ready, basically. I guess if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. There is no end credit scene. Like, there's no point staying at the end of the credits. I stayed just in case there was, but there is no end credit scene. It's just the Avengers will return, which I'm like, wanting the end credit scene. But I don't know. I could talk about this film for another wee while, but I think I've basically said everything I wanted to say. I absolutely loved the banter. I love the characters. I love the acting. I love basically everything about this film. I still feel it's not as good as Avengers, but I still absolutely loved it. It was very entertaining. It does everything a sequel should do. As is the only negative I give it is the villain's not as good as Loki, but that's besides the point. He's still awesome. I absolutely loved it. Definitely major props to Joss Whedon and all of Marvel Studios for creating this. I think that's where I'll wrap it up without going into even more spoilers. So, as is, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching if you watched. I do not know how long I've been rambling. In fact, let's check, see how long I've been rambling for, but I absolutely loved it. I really, really did. I could talk about it for another wee while, but I think I'll definitely wrap it up. So, of course, spoiler one in the comments as well. Again, if you let me know what your thoughts. Like, how long have we gone for? We've been going for nearly 30 minutes. Holy shit. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favourite spoiler scenes were, of course. Like, what scene did you stand out to you? But other than that, I thank you for watching. As always, I'm Scottish92, and... Oh, you gotta be shitting me. Just at the end of the video, no. The hammer won't let me pick us up. What did I say in the bloody video that made me not worthy anymore? Is it about the other hammer cheating on you with? I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. Well, fuck you too. Stupid hammer. I need to talk to it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.